The Yamaha MODX performance synthesizer has been a hot seller for Yamaha. But why? Let's take a look at it.
Welcome to another My Gear video in my My Gear series of videos. And in this series of videos, I go over my gear, talk about my gear, how I feel about it, but also how I incorporate it into my workflow. So it's not a product review or a sound demo, but it's how I use my gear and how I incorporate it. And hopefully it will inspire you on how to use your gear or help you make a buying decision if you're in the market for buying something in the category that I am showcasing. And so today we're going to be talking about the MODX performance synthesizer. And I did do another video on the Nord Stage 3 keyboard. And what I specifically said about that keyboard is if you are looking to get the most bang for your buck, then that is not the keyboard to get. In other words, if you're looking to get as many features as you possibly can, then the Nord Stage 3 is not the keyboard to get. It's quite the opposite when it comes to the MODX. The MODX, I believe, as far as a performance synthesizer, is the best value for your money that you can get today. And the reason why I say that is because the MODX has all of the same sounds, not some of the same sounds. It has all of the same sounds as Yamaha's flagship performance synthesizer, the Montage. So all of the sounds are exactly the same. So this CFX Grand sample, it is the exact same sample as the MODX, as the Montage. Exact same samples. There is no difference. And so the fact that you're getting the same exact sounds as you are in the flagship speaks volumes to the value that you're getting. Also, the operating system is exactly the same. So it operates exactly the same. The editing features and everything that you have are exactly the same. The differences are things like you don't get as many like MIDI channels out. I think the Montage has like 32 channels out when you're going into a DAW, and this only has 10 simultaneously. The FMX sound engine in here, the polyphony is reduced to 64 from 128. So you have a 64 voice polyphony on the FMX. On the FM side. But as far as the AWM2, because it has two sound engines in it, as far as the AWM2, it's still 128 voice polyphony. So you have 128 on the AWM2 sounds, and the FM sounds you have 64. 64 is still plenty of polyphony when you're talking about synth sounds. And so, but literally pretty much everything about this keyboard internally is the same as the Montage, and that is quite the value for your money. And one of the things I really like about it is the sounds. I love the way the Montage and the MODX, I love the way it sounds, but I like how the sounds, they have a modern type of sound to them, in my opinion. The sounds just, they sound modern. And I can't say that for, all keyboards that are out today. They often sound dated. But the MODX, the MODX just has a modern sound. I feel like I'm playing a keyboard, you know, in 2020. Now, the same can't be said for my Roland FA08. I know I'm always picking on that keyboard. The same can't be said for that. To me, a lot of the sounds in that keyboard are actually, they're dated. And a lot of it is opinion when it comes to sounds. You know, you like what you like, and you don't like what you don't like. And so everybody has different opinions on what sounds good. But I will say this about the FA08, which is not an opinion. The Roland FA08 has about 2,000 sounds in it, just like this has about 2,000 sounds in it. 1,000 of those sounds come from the XV5080, XV3080 sound module. And that module came out, I think, in the early 2000s, maybe 2000, 1999, somewhere around then. And my FA08 doesn't have just some of those sounds. It has all of those sounds. So it has 1,000 sounds from the early 2000s. It has 1,000 sounds that are 20 years old. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. And so when I say the sounds sound dated in that machine, it's because they are dated. A lot of the samples are indeed 20 years old and haven't been updated, changed in any way. Now, of course, it has supernatural sounds and other sounds that are definitely a lot more modern. But the bulk, not the bulk, but half the sounds in there are 20 years old. And with this keyboard, it just has, it's just modern. I think that Yamaha they hit it out of the park when it comes to this keyboard. They hit it out of the park. It just has so many great sounds. And so that's why I use it as my top tier keyboard. Top tier keyboard meaning I play 2 keyboards in a live set. I use this as my top keyboard. Because the sounds in it are they're just amazing. When I need some sort of a brass sound, you know, if I'm going to be doing like horns, let's see here. Let's go to, let me quickly grab brass, and then I can go to ensemble brass and pick horns. Now, I don't think that they sound as good as VSTs or necessarily sound like a real brass section, but when I'm playing in my band, we actually have actual horns. We have a horn section, but it's not that many horns. It's just like 2 saxophones, or, you know, so you have maybe a tenor sax and an alto sax or something. And so when I'm normally playing horns, I'm just playing kind of behind them. I'm playing behind them. And so when it all mixes together, it makes the brass sound bigger. But just overall, the orchestral sounds in here they're really good, and really all of the sounds in this keyboard are just amazing. So I use that as my top tier keyboard. I will say when it comes to a lot of samples that are acoustic samples like flutes and woodwinds or horns, even strings, I say that the sounds in here sound better than my core Chronos to me. Now, that's just an opinion. Now I'm talking about straight out of the box. Of course, you can edit the sounds, and the editing capabilities get very, very deep with both of these keyboards. But just as far as overall, if I had to rate sound quality, especially out of the box, The MODX is doing a great job as far as those kind of sounds. Now, when it comes to, you know, pads and stuff like that, then I think that they're really kind of even. And when it comes to EPs, I actually prefer the electric piano sound engine in my Korg Kronos over my MODX, which is why I don't just have one keyboard. But again, so just for the value for your money, this is just a great keyboard to have live in the studio and everything. Now, as far as live is concerned, one of the things I really do like is the live sets, and you can set up your own, you know, your own live sets and stuff. So it was like a set list, and when you go to your next song, you just click on the screen, and however it is that you set up your live sets, everything will be available for you. Kind of like the set list on the Korg Kronos. The MODX has one as well, and so it makes playing live a breeze because I can flip through sounds and stuff very, very quickly, and I just organize them by whatever song that we're on. Now, the specs of this keyboard are, you know, they're really insane. There's over 10,000 arpeggios in the arpeggiator. It has a drum track and a multiplicity, thousands of different drum patterns that can play along with you. You can set up scenes in here, 8 different scenes. And what scenes are is you can have something like a sound like this, and this is one scene, and you can save that scene, and then you can edit it and change it and save it to scene number 2, and then you can scene number 3 and scene number 4, and so on and so forth. And basically it allows you to flip scenes in one performance really, really quickly. So that's also something else. So if I had a drum track playing, I can have a drum track playing. I can have the drum tracks changing, you know, the various patterns, so it wasn't so monotonous, and all I have to do is click the next scene, click the next scene, click the next scene. It allows you to control 8 sounds all at once from the keyboard. You can, of course, you can have split in layers and different things. You can have 16 altogether. You can't play them all from the keyboard itself. You'd have to set it up MIDI-wise to play the other 8. But you can set up 8 to play on your keyboard. So oftentimes I will have like a bass down here and maybe a horn up here somewhere, and have the keyboard split and have you know, different scenes and different sounds and stuff set up with various pads and stuff. And I can just add all the spice that I need to my performances using this keyboard. And the editing capabilities in here are very, very deep. I think I said that already. But as far as, let's see here, I'm just gonna click on this, hit enter. I can literally go into here and I can do some very, very deep editing. Now, I think you're missing a lot if you just turn on the MODX and you just play all the samples, the presets that come with it. They're very, very good, but the editing capabilities in this machine is powerful. Each sound can have up to 8 elements, and you can edit each element in your sounds, and you can have 8 elements, and then on top of that, then you can have 8 parts that you can play from the keyboard. So each part, so this is a piano, acoustic piano, is my first first sound, and the second sound is a pad. I mute this, mute that. Is a pad, and then my third sound is a pad, a different pad. So the CFX padded 2 sound is made up of 3 different sounds. It has the acoustic piano and 2 pads. So yes, it's a layer, but I can go into here and I can actually edit it. And my piano, acoustic piano, has 8 different elements that can all be edited, and each element can have its own filter. It can have its own, pitch envelope generator. It can have its own filter, its own amplitude, its own LFO. Then I can go to a different element, and that element's going to have its own LFO, its own amplitude, its own filter, its own pitch, its own. You can set your own. Each element can have its own EQ and stuff as well. So you really can stack your sounds the way you want them and edit them the way you want them. And what I have found is, if I'm playing a cover and there's a sound that I don't have or a sound I'm trying to accomplish, I can oftentimes just create the sound in the MODX, and that's powerful. It's the same exact power as the montage. Now I will say about this keyboard, the touchscreen is not like your it's not like what we're used to as far as our tablets and our phones and stuff, but it is fairly responsive, more responsive most certainly than the Korg Kronos. This keyboard touchscreen is just it's just better. It's more modern. It's not your cell phone kind of thing, but it is better than kind of what I have down here. But it very intuitive as far as use. Now, it is a lot of menu diving because the board is so deep. This is definitely a keyboard where you're going to have to sit down and read the manual to learn how it works, even just to understand FM synthesis with all of its operators and all of its algorithms and stuff like that. It's not just your DX7. DX7 was extremely hard to use. It's not just your DX7, but it's like a DX7 on steroids, having more operators and so on and so forth. Just a powerhouse, really just a powerhouse of a board. Now, so what don't I like about the MODX? Well, there really isn't much that I don't like about it, especially considering the price. I would never complain about the fact that it doesn't have as many buttons as the Montage, because you can always just go get a Montage if that's what you want to get. It's got less faders. The Montage has 8 sliders and faders. This only has 4, and you have to actually toggle through them. Now, you can get to all 8, but you have to toggle through them using this button here. And then the encoders in the Montage here, they actually have an LED that lights up so you can see what level it's at and whatnot. You could see the same thing on the screen, but it's just an added feature of the MODX, of the Montage rather. The MODX is lighter than the Montage, and that is something that's nice. The fact that it's lighter is nice for gigging and whatnot. But it is made out of plastic. I wouldn't necessarily complain about the plastic you feel, because it doesn't necessarily feel cheap. So that's not really a big deal to me. The biggest downside of this keyboard is the keyboard itself. The keyboard the key bed just feels absolutely cheap. I mean, even when I'm playing it now and I've been playing over this video, it's been kind of sloppy. Even these feel the black keys feel like they're not as big, or they're thinner or shorter, or it's just it's really cheap. It actually feels kind of like maybe one of those $100 keyboards that you'd buy for a child to learn how to play the piano, or a 6-year-old or something like that. That's really what this feels like. It's a really, really cheap key bed, and it really bothers me sometimes when I have to play certain things and use this. It's it can be a challenge. That is, I would say that is the biggest downside of this keyboard. It's almost like they gave you all the features of the montage and then just kind of threw some keys on. So it's almost like it's a sound module, and they threw in some keys with it. So, but that's really, when it comes to this keyboard, that's really my only complaint. And of course, you can get a better key bed and just buy the montage. But I think the key bed could have even still been a little bit better than what we got here. I know they were cutting costs and whatnot, and so they skimped on the key bed, and they really skimped on it. It's a big, as a semi-weighted key bed, it's pretty bad. But everything else about the keyboard, I really have no complaints. It has become my main top tier keyboard. I just know I can find the sounds and stuff that I need. If I can't find them, I can create them. If I need certain arpeggios or whatever, I can, choose from the 10,000 and whatnot that it has inside, over 10,000. It's got drum patterns and stuff in here. It can really inspire me to play music because it is so musical, and there's just so many different things. I can play all kinds of different genres. I can play everything. I can play things from the 60s and the 70s and do well covering those kinds of songs. But also, if there's some sort of EDM song or something that's modern that I have to cover, I can do that as well because the sounds in here aren't dated. So I can cover modern, EDM type of music or pop music that people are singing today, and I can go back and cover, old, stuff from the 70s or the 80s or whatever, and get those same kind of sounds and synths and so on and so forth. It is a well-rounded keyboard. I believe it is the best keyboard that you can buy on the market, the best value for your money. If you can get past the key bed, and you can get past, some of the, plasticky feel and stuff. Now, it doesn't feel like it's going to break or anything like that. The key bed, it definitely feels like if I was playing this aggressively every night, constantly gigging with it and playing aggressive, I can see that breaking. But everything else, it really, it feels, it feels pretty good, especially considering the price. So if you are in the market for a hardware synthesizer, and you are playing live, and you are on a budget, and you can't get a montage, you can't get a Chronos, you can't get, some of these flagships, this is a great keyboard to get. Huge learning curve. I'm still learning it. Lots of things to go over when it comes to this keyboard. But if you're in the market for this kind of an instrument, I do not believe that you can go wrong with this. And so that's it for me. I would love to hear what you think about the MODX, or what keyboard that you use, or whatnot. I would love to hear about that in the comments. Please leave a comment, and if this has added any value to you, please go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. I have a variety of things that I do, from tutorials to reviews to, just stay tuned. So anyway, thank you for watching my video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.